Have you ever felt like you just don't belong, like you see the world through a different lens while everyone else seems perfectly comfortable following the crowd? If you've ever questioned why you feel this way, you're not alone. But here's the truth. Maybe you were never meant to fit in. Maybe you were meant to stand out. Because a chosen woman is never like the rest. She is different, and the world senses it. From the moment she steps into a room, there's something about her, something unexplainable. People notice, but they don't always understand. They feel her presence, yet they can't define it. She carries a weight, an invisible burden, simply because she exists in a way that challenges the ordinary. And that way, that's the price of being chosen. Stay until the end of this video and you'll understand why walking alone isn't a curse. It's the greatest gift you could ever receive. But let's start from the beginning. Most people spend their lives searching for acceptance. They mold themselves to fit in, adjusting their thoughts, their actions, even their dreams just to be part of something. They crave belonging so much that they sacrifice their individuality for it. But a chosen woman, she cannot do this. It's not in her nature to follow. She was not designed to blend in. She was made to break the mold. And because of this, she feels the weight of her difference. From a young age, she realizes she doesn't think like the others. While others accept things at face value, she questions everything. She doesn't just listen. She observes, she analyzes, she searches for deeper meaning. She wants to know why people act the way they do, why they settle, why they conform. And this curiosity, it isolates her. She watches as people around her create connections effortlessly, forming friendships, relationships, and social circles with ease. But for her, it's different. She doesn't connect with just anyone. She doesn't engage in surface-level conversations that mean nothing. She doesn't force herself into spaces that don't feel right. And because of this, she often finds herself alone. But here's the secret most people don't understand. Solitude is not loneliness. Most people fear being alone because they don't know who they are without us. They need distractions, noise, constant validation to feel whole. But a chosen woman, she finds strength in solitude. She does not run from it. She embraces it. Because when she is alone, she hears her own voice more clearly. She understands herself in ways most people never will. And that understanding, that is power. Psychologists have studied the human need for social acceptance. The brain is wired to seek connection because, historically, survival depended on belonging to a group. But a chosen woman is not just surviving, she is evolving. She does not operate on the same frequency as everyone else. She does not need a crowd to feel safe. She does not need approval to feel worthy. Her value does not come from the outside world, it comes from within. And because of this, she intimidates people. Her confidence in being alone unsettles those who depend on external validation. Her ability to walk away from what doesn't serve her makes others uncomfortable. People don't understand how she can be so at peace without needing constant reassurance. What do people fear the most? What they do not understand. So they label her. She's called a too much or too distant. People assume she is arrogant, cold, or even selfish. But in reality, she is none of these things. She simply refuses to shrink herself for the comfort of others. She refuses to compromise her authenticity just to make others feel at ease. And this, more than anything, is why she always walks alone. But walking alone is not a weakness. It is not a punishment. It is a sign of strength, of self-respect, of a deeper calling. A chosen woman does not chase approval because she knows that those meant to walk with her will find her. She does not seek validation because she validates herself. So if you've ever wondered why your path feels so different, why your journey seems lonelier than others, understand this. It is not because you are lost. It is because you are chosen. And being chosen means carrying the weight of your difference. It means walking a road that few will understand. But in the end, it also means freedom. Because the woman who dares to walk alone, she is the woman who leads. Stay with me because as we continue, you'll see why solitude is not an obstacle. It's the very thing that will set you apart from the rest. There comes a moment in every chosen woman's life when she faces a question that others ignore. Who am I really? While most people accept the roles given to them, daughter, friend, employee, partner, a chosen woman cannot. She refuses to be defined by labels. She refuses to live a life dictated by expectations that were never hers to begin with, and this refusal, it sets her apart. She begins to question everything. The traditions she was taught, the rules she was told to follow, the beliefs that were handed to her without explanation. She doesn't just accept life, she dissects it. She asks, why do people live this way? Why do they stay in jobs they hate? Why do they settle for relationships that drain them? When she asks these questions, something dangerous happens. She starts to wake up. This awakening is not gentle. It is not easy. It shatters illusions, breaks false realities, and forces her to face a truth that most people run from. Most of the world is asleep. People do not question, they do not challenge, they do not seek more. Because they are afraid of what they might find, afraid of what change requires, afraid that if they search too deeply, they will realize they are not living, just existing. But a chosen woman is different. She does not fear the unknown. She walks toward it. She knows that self-discovery is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. She understands that the more she learns, the more she will change. And that change, it will come at a cost. Because the deeper she goes into herself, the more disconnected she becomes from those who stay on the surface. Friendships begin to fade. Conversations become empty. The people she once related to no longer make sense to her. She speaks a new language, one that only those who have also awakened can understand. And so she walks alone. Not because she wants to, but because the path of self-discovery demands it. There comes a moment in every chosen woman's life when she faces a question that others ignore. Who am I really? Well, most people accept the roles given to them. Daughter, friend, employee, partner. A chosen woman cannot. She refuses to be defined by labels. She refuses to live a life dictated by expectations that were never hers to begin with. And this refusal, it sets her apart. She begins to question everything. The tradition she was taught, the rules she was told to follow, the beliefs that were handed to her without explanation. She doesn't just accept life. She dissects it. She asks, why do people live this way? Why do they stay in jobs they hate? Why do they settle for relationships that drain them? And when she asks these questions, something dangerous happens. She starts to wake up. This awakening is not gentle. It is not easy. It shatters illusions, breaks false realities, and forces her to face a truth that most people run from. Most of the world is asleep. People do not question. They do not challenge. They do not seek more because they are afraid of what they might find, afraid of what change requires, afraid that if they search too deeply, they will realize they are not living, just existing. But a chosen woman is different. She does not fear the unknown. She walks toward it. She knows that self-discovery is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. She understands that the more she learns, the more she will change. And that change, it will come at a cost. Because the deeper she goes into herself, the more disconnected she becomes from those who stay on the surface. Friendships begin to fade. Conversations become empty. The people she once related to no longer make sense to her. She speaks a new language, one that only those who have also awakened can understand. And so she walks alone, not because she wants to, but because the path of self-discovery demands it. There comes a point when a chosen woman must make a decision. Stay among the crowd, forcing herself into spaces that no longer feel right, or walk alone and embrace the silence. And she always chooses the latter. Not because she hates people, not because she thinks she's better, but because she has outgrown the need for shallow connections. Most people fear being alone, so they fill their lives with noise, friends who don't truly understand them, relationships built on convenience, conversations that lack depth. They stay in rooms where they don't belong because the thought of solitude terrifies them. They mistake company for connection, thinking that as long as they are surrounded by people, they are valued. But a chosen woman knows the truth. She knows that the wrong company is more dangerous than loneliness. She has sat in rooms where her presence wasn't appreciated. She has listened to words that held no meaning. She has shared her heart with those who only wanted pieces of her, never the whole. And she has learned that nothing feels lonelier than standing in a crowd and still feeling unseen. So she chooses solitude because solitude is honest. It doesn't lie, it doesn't betray, and it doesn't demand her to be anything other than herself. In solitude, she finds clarity. She hears her own voice without the influence of others. She builds a relationship with herself, one that no external force can break. And in that space of silence, she realizes something powerful. She would rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded by people who don't truly see her. So she lets go of forced friendships, of conversations that drain her, of people who only love the version of her that is easy to handle. She makes peace with solitude because she knows this. The right people, the ones who match her energy, her vision, her depth, they will find her. And until then, she walks alone, not in sadness, but in strength. A chosen woman does not just walk alone. She walks against the current. And when you move differently in a world that thrives on sameness, people will misunderstand you. They will question your choices. They will label you as too intense, too independent, too different. They will try to fit you into a box because that is what makes them comfortable. But you were never meant to live for their comfort. You were meant to rise beyond their understanding. Most people follow a script. They live by unspoken rules, moving in predictable patterns, doing what is expected. But a chosen woman does not obey these silent commands. She does not shrink herself to fit the mold. She does not follow traditions that no longer serve her. And when she refuses to conform, she becomes a threat. Because when one person dares to live freely, it forces others to question their own limitations. And not everyone is ready for that. Psychologists call this the threat of nonconformity. When people see someone breaking away from the norm, it triggers discomfort. It forces them to ask, why am I not doing the same? Why am I accepting a life that doesn't fulfill me? And instead of facing these questions, they project their fear onto the one who refuses to settle. That is why a chosen woman is often misunderstood. People assume she is cold because she does not seek approval. They think she is arrogant because she refuses to follow the crowd. They call her difficult because she does not tolerate mediocrity. But what they fail to see is the strength it takes to stand alone, to keep walking forward despite the criticism, to trust yourself when no one else does. Being misunderstood is not a curse. It is a sign that you are moving beyond the limits of those around you. It is proof that you are living on your own terms, not theirs. And in the end, the chosen woman does not need to be understood by the world. She only needs to understand herself. Most people are wired to seek belonging. From childhood, the brain is conditioned to crave acceptance, to fit in, to be part of a group, to feel safe within the crowd. It is a survival instinct deeply rooted in human psychology. But a chosen woman is different. She does not fear being alone. She does not attach her worth to how many people surround her, because she knows that true power comes not from blending in, but from standing apart. Psychologists have studied the effects of solitude on the mind, and what they found is this: those who embrace being alone develop higher levels of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and mental resilience. While others depend on external validation, a chosen woman finds strength within. She does not need a crowd to feel complete. She is whole on her own. But this level of independence comes with a price. When you do not follow the unspoken rules of society, people don't know how to categorize you. They don't understand how you can be at peace without constant validation. They wonder why you are not desperate to belong, why you are not afraid to walk your own path. And what people do not understand, they fear. That fear turns into judgment. They say you are too distant. They assume you are unhappy simply because you do not seek the same things they do. They try to fix you as if your solitude is a problem that needs solving. But in reality, it is their own insecurity speaking. They cannot imagine being alone with their thoughts, so they project that fear onto you. But a chosen woman does not waver. She does not change herself to ease their discomfort. She knows that the ability to stand alone is not loneliness. It is strength. It is self-mastery. It is the kind of power that few will ever understand. And so while the world clings to the illusion of belonging, she walks forward, unshaken, unapologetic, unstoppable. Growth is beautiful, but it comes with a price. A chosen woman does not just grow. She evolves. She sheds her old skin, her old habits, her old mindset. She becomes wiser, stronger, more aware. But with that awareness comes a painful truth. Not everyone will grow with her. At first she tries to hold on, She wants to bring people with her to share her journey, to uplift those she cares about. She sees their potential, their unspoken dreams, the greatness buried beneath their fears. But she soon realizes something: not everyone wants to be saved. Some people are comfortable where they are. They fear change. They fear growth. They cling to the familiar even if it keeps them stuck. And when she tries to pull them forward, they resist. They mock her ambition. They question her choices. They make her feel guilty for wanting more. This is where the real pain begins. She starts to feel the distance. Conversations feel empty. Time spent together feels forced. The people she once connected with no longer understand her. And eventually she faces a choice: stay small to keep them or rise alone. And so she walks away. Not out of arrogance, not out of pride, but out of necessity. Psychologists call this the law of vibration. People operate at different frequencies, and when one person's energy rises, they no longer align with those who remain the same. It is not personal. It is simply nature. The chosen woman does not lose people because she is difficult. She loses them because she is growing beyond what they can handle. But with every loss comes a gain. For every person who drifts away, she moves closer to those who match her new energy. She attracts people who think like her, who dream like her, who understand the path she is on. She finds her true circle, not through force, but through alignment. And in the end, she realizes something powerful: outgrowing people is not a loss. It is proof that she is becoming the woman she was meant to be. A chosen woman knows when to leave. She does not beg for a seat at a table where she is not valued. She does not force connections that drain her. She does not cling to places, people, or situations that no longer serve her. Because she understands one thing: walking away is power. Most people stay. They stay in relationships that make them feel invisible. They stay in friendships that no longer inspire them. They stay in environments that suffocate their potential, not because they are happy, because they are afraid. Afraid of the unknown, afraid of starting over, afraid of walking alone. But a chosen woman, she does not fear endings. She embraces them because she knows that every time she walks away from something that is not meant for her, she makes room for something greater. She knows that clinging to the wrong things only delays the right ones from finding her. And most of all, she knows that nothing is worth losing herself over. Not a person, not a relationship, not a false sense of security. Walking away is not weakness. It is self-respect. Psychologists call this the sunk cost fallacy. People hold on to things simply because they've invested time and energy, even when it no longer benefits them. They convince themselves that staying is better than starting over. But a chosen woman refuses to stay in a losing game. She does not let her past investments dictate her future happiness. She chooses herself even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when it means standing alone, because she knows that the right path is not always the easiest one. It is the one that demands strength, the one that requires faith, the one that forces her to trust that what is meant for her will never require her to abandon herself. So she walks away, not because she doesn't care, but because she finally does. A chosen woman is not afraid to take up space. She does not shrink to make others comfortable. She does not silence her voice to avoid judgment. She does not soften her strength to be more likable. She stands firm in who she is, unapologetically. But this kind of confidence comes with a cost. Society rewards women who conform, women who are agreeable, who do not challenge the status quo, who smile even when they are disrespected. The world is comfortable with women who stay small. But a chosen woman refuses to be what the world expects. And because of this, she becomes a target. People call her difficult. They say she is too much, too opinionated, too independent, too ambitious. They mistake her confidence for arrogance, her boundaries for coldness, her self-respect for selfishness. But she does not exist to please others. She does not live for their approval. Psychologists call this social conditioning. From an early age, women are taught to seek validation, to be agreeable, to be liked. But a chosen woman unlearns this conditioning. She does not adjust herself to fit into a mold that was never made for her. She does not apologize for being strong, smart, or driven. And because of this, she is misunderstood. She loses people who cannot handle her authenticity. She intimidates those who are not secure in themselves. She faces criticism simply for refusing to play small. But she does not let this stop her. Because she knows that being true to herself will always cost her something, but being someone she is not will cost her everything. So she moves forward, fearless, unapologetic, unstoppable. There comes a time when a chosen woman finds herself completely alone. Not because she wants to be, but because the path she walks is not for everyone. The higher she climbs, the fewer people remain by her side. The deeper she understands herself, the more she realizes how rare true connection is. And in that isolation, she faces her greatest test. Most people avoid solitude. They distract themselves with noise, with meaningless conversations, with relationships that serve no real purpose. They fear being alone because it forces them to confront themselves. But a chosen woman does not run from solitude. She embraces it because she understands that solitude is not emptiness. It is a training ground. It is in silence that she finds clarity. It is in loneliness that she builds resilience. It is in isolation that she transforms pain into power. While others seek validation, she sharpens her mind. While others crave distraction, she develops discipline. While others fear being unseen, she becomes so strong that she no longer needs to be noticed. Psychologists call this radical self-sufficiency, the ability to rely on oneself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It is a rare strength, one that only a few ever master. But those who do, they become unstoppable because they are no longer dependent on the world to make them feel whole. A chosen woman does not need constant company to feel worthy. She does not need approval to feel validated. She does not need noise to drown out her thoughts. She stands alone, not in weakness, but in power, because she knows that the woman who can stand alone is the woman who can stand anywhere. A chosen woman does not think like the rest. Her mind is built differently. While others are controlled by fear, she is driven by purpose. While others seek comfort, she seeks growth. While others are shaped by the opinions of the world, she is shaped by the vision she holds for herself. This mindset is her greatest weapon. Most people are prisoners of their own thoughts. They let doubt control them. They let failure define them. They let rejection stop them. But a chosen woman refuses to be a victim of her mind. She has trained herself to see obstacles as stepping stones, to see rejection as redirection, to see loneliness as preparation. Psychologists call this a growth mindset. The ability to see challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to become stronger. And this is why she cannot be broken. When life tests her, she does not crumble. She adapts. She learns. She grows. She does not waste time complaining about what is unfair. She does not seek sympathy for the struggles she faces. Instead, she asks herself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to become better? And this is what separates her from the rest. Because while most people stay stuck in their excuses, she turns pain into fuel. While others give up after failure, she uses it to sharpen her focus. While others wait for someone to save them, she becomes the hero of her own story. This is the power of an unshakable mind. A chosen woman does not just survive. She rises. No matter how many times she falls, she gets back up. No matter how many times she is doubted, she proves herself again. No matter how many times life pushes her down, she comes back stronger. Because she knows one thing for certain, nothing is more powerful than a woman who refuses to quit. A chosen woman does not accept half love, half effort, or half commitment. She does not tolerate being an afterthought, a backup plan, or an option. She knows her worth, and because of that, she refuses to settle for anything that does not align with her highest potential. Most people accept less than they deserve. Not because they are weak, but because they are afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of starting over. Afraid that if they let go, nothing better will come. But a chosen woman, she does not live in fear. She lives in faith. She understands that settling is a slow form of self-destruction. Every time she lowers her standards, she loses a piece of herself. Every time she stays where she is not valued, she teaches people that they can treat her as less. Every time she accepts less than what she deserves, she reinforces the lie that she is not worthy of more. But she knows the truth. She is worthy. Psychologists call this self-concept theory, the belief that how you see yourself determines what you accept in life. A chosen woman holds herself to the highest standard because she sees herself as worthy of the best. Not in arrogance, but in deep self-respect. And so, she waits. She waits for the love that does not require her to shrink, the friendships that inspire her to grow, the opportunities that match her ambition. She does not settle out of desperation. She does not cling to people out of loneliness. She does not beg for things that are not meant for her, because she knows that when she refuses to accept less, life will eventually give her more. She is patient. She is disciplined. She is unwavering in her belief that the right things will find her at the right time. And that is why she walks alone, not because she cannot find love, success, or companionship, but because she refuses to accept anything less than what she truly deserves. A chosen woman does not accept half love, half effort, or half commitment. She does not tolerate being an afterthought, a backup plan, or an option. She knows her worth, and because of that, she refuses to settle for anything that does not align with her highest potential. Most people accept less than they deserve, not because they are afraid, but because they are afraid. Afraid of being alone, afraid of starting over, afraid that if they let go, nothing better will come. But a chosen woman, she does not live in fear, she lives in faith. She understands the slow form of self-destruction. Every time she loses a piece of herself, every time she stays where she is not valued, she teaches people that they can treat her as less. Every time she accepts less than what she deserves, she reinforces the lie that she is not worthy of more. But she knows the truth. She is worthy. The psychologists call this self-concept theory, the belief that how you see yourself determines what you accept in life. A chosen woman holds herself to the highest standard because she sees herself as worthy of the best, not in arrogance, but in deep self-respect. And so she waits. She waits for the love that does not require her to shrink, the friendships that inspire her to grow, the opportunities that match her ambition. She does not settle out of desperation. She does not cling to people out of loneliness. She does not beg for things that are not meant for her, because she knows that when she refuses to accept less, life will eventually give her more. She is patient. She is disciplined. She is unwavering in her belief that the right things will find her at the right time. And that is why she walks alone, not because she cannot find love, success, or companionship, but because she refuses to accept anything less than what she truly deserves.